Welcome back to the Supercoach Hub AFL podcast. I'm the host, Nathan Scoble. You can find me at ScobleyRant36 on Twitter. And here I am with Joshy. How are you, mate? It's good to see you.
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. And 2 weeks in a row, Verns is late, so we'll see him later, I guess.
I know, you could put money on Verns being late. This bloke literally needs to, I don't know, he must have dial-up or something because his computer always takes ages to turn on. I don't know why he's not prepared. And as always, we are not joined by Pleb. So, thanks a lot, Pleb. Thank you, mate. Tonight is just going to be about players that have surprised us and maybe some that have honestly let us down a little bit in the practice matches so far. And obviously, we've just had the first one of the real match, I guess the practice matches start, and that was Collingwood and Richmond. But we'll get to that a little bit later. So, Joshy, first up, mate, who are the players that have surprised you so far, mate? In a good way, of course.
Yeah, well, I've got a couple, and they're both rookies or high-end rookies, and they're Lazaro and Huswaite.
Yep.
Firstly, with Lazaro, just backed up that intra-club the week before, that really good performance. I think he had like 22 something disposals thanks to AFL Central. And yeah, it looked really, really good. Got some mid-minutes, played high half forward. Ball use looked pretty good, like a lot better than it was in the North Intra club match. And yeah, he surprised me in a really good way. And that's two good performances now. We just need a third and lock him away, I reckon. And then Huswaite, he had 24 disposals, looked really good in that Hawthorn midfield. That wasn't missing any key names in that midfield, I'm pretty sure, besides Amon. B's moved to the back line now. So yeah, he was really impressive as well. Another guy that's 180 plus K, which is annoying. All the rookies we seem to be getting are higher ends, but yeah, two
Yep.
guys that really surprised me in a good way, and both in my side at the moment now.
Wonderful, mate. Wonderful. I completely agree. Completely agree. Huswaite especially, he was almost best on ground, I thought.
Mm.
As you said, elevated price at 184K. But I mean, I've currently got him at M8. What about yourself, mate?
Yeah, M8 as well, and then just Sanders M7 and McKercher M6.
Yeah, I think that's fairly common. I know he is at an elevated price, but the way he played, he looked very good. So
Mm.
I would honestly say he's fairly safe in that Hawks lineup. What's your thoughts, mate?
Well, I think he'd have to be, and there's no one coming to the top of my head right now of Hawks mids that were missing from that game. Obviously, Will Day, but he's still a few weeks away in terms of playing time. But yeah, I think if he keeps playing like that, you're not going to lose your spot because it was really impressive, and multiple people saw it. After the game, people were saying he was nearly best on or was best on. So I think he can keep his spot. But yeah, obviously, again, it's a watch in the second preseason game for them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I've got a couple as well, mate, and I think they're fairly highly owned. But I was just, as I said, surprised us in a good way. Now you're gonna hate the first one because I know, like, you literally like an anti-vaxxer about this fella, and that's Nat
Yeah.
Fife. He went off at
Mm.
half time. I think he had like 17 handballs, 3 kicks. But what I was so impressed about was that clearance work. It was just, my goodness, it was amazing. It was like vintage Fife again. And I know he only played a half, and I know you especially have been so against him
Mm.
unless the ownership gets to over 50%. Now, I don't
Yeah.
know what
It's
his
at
ownership.
47 at the moment.
It's
So
at 47. Well,
yeah.
I would not be surprised if that's near 55, 60
Oh
come
yeah,
round
absolutely.
zero. He looked incredible. But as I
Mm.
said, obviously only a half, which is completely understandable. You don't take your Rolls Royce out on, a Monday night, do you? But
No.
he just looked amazing, like amazing. And
Mm.
he's at 283K. I mean, if his body lasts for, say, 6 rounds, that's huge. Like, it's almost. I know I said Guthrie was the best stepping stone in the game until he
Yeah.
lasted 15 seconds. That was disgusting. But Fife really has that chance. He could easily be, slap another 75K onto him, and then you found out who your premium forwards are, and it could be an easy stepping stone there. So I'm all aboard the Fife train. And he has been, I mean, what more could you want? 20 disposals, heaps of clearances, set up a couple of goals, looked like an absolute beast in that midfield. But he was sensational, absolutely sensational. Now, we do have Verns, who's just jumped in here. I will warn our viewers that are watching us right now that this man does not have a license for these two guns that you're about to see, okay? Verns, how are you, mate?
I'm good, Scobes. How you guys doing?
We are fantastic. Now, first off, mate, surely those guns aren't registered because there's no way that the Victorian police would let you get rock around with them, would they?
Look, you just need to put me up next to our man Spills, and you already know that like these are definitely legal comparatively.
Hype central, absolute hype central. Now we're just talking about blokes that have impressed us so far in the pre-season, mate. Who's one bloke that has really made you think, like, wow, he could be really, something special, or could have elevated his game to the next level?
Yeah. I'm gonna just quickly move which screens I got you on because I'm looking sideways on it. Here we go.
Good to see you prepared, mate.
Oh, definitely not. Look, I'd like to apologize to everyone. I honestly went to my parents' house for a bit of a late birthday and sat down watching the Pies game and got to 8:30. I'm like, 5 more minutes will be okay. 8:35, 5 more minutes will be okay. It was not okay, and I am sorry for being late.
Yeah, we don't take apologies lightly around here, mate. So you're gonna have to do better than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you keep that up, you'll be on the outside like Pleb is, actually. But no, who's one player that's really, really impressed you so far?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not that they took their game to the next level or anything, but I think Windsor from Melbourne, honestly, I just think he had a really... I was really impressed with his game personally. He was someone that I didn't really have on my radar. I watched that game when Melbourne played Tigers, and he was very active at the start of that game. Very active, very involved. Obviously, I didn't have Hunter there, so that does add a bit of a question mark to how real is this. But he looked really good. So I was pretty happy with what I saw from him.
Yeah, no, I completely concur. Windsor, I've chopped and changed the forward line, but he is most definitely an option. Absolutely. My second player is, and I've got no idea at his ownership now. We'll have a look. It's going to be a lot because this bloke has just skyrocketed, and that's the Shees. Sheesel had 42 against the Pies. Basically just ran things out of that back half with Colby McKercher and also Zach Fisher, and all three of them look pretty good. But Harry Sheesel's now up to 33% ownership, and I would highly advise finding some coin if you've got Hayden Young to just go straight up to him because he looks sensational, absolutely sensational. He doesn't waste it either. They were 42 quality possessions, and I know it's only a preseason game, and Pies had like 9 premiership players out, but North looked really good, really good. It just seemed like it was just fast movement, go, move at all costs, take the game on. And if that's a game plan they're going to play, Sheezel literally is the quarterback setting up everything. And I personally thought maybe he's a bit of a Mr. Fix-It man, kind of like Callum Mills from Sydney, but obviously not as silly to, get injured. But I thought Sheezel would be, I guess, moving into the midfield and going forward, but it really seemed as if like it was permanently across that back line, going up into the midfield and then coming back down. So Sheezel has made his way into my team currently, and along with 33% of other super coaches, I think he's going to stay there for quite a long time. Joshy, what's your thoughts on Shees, mate?
Yeah, well, I did the exact same thing that you were just speaking about, trying to find that extra coin to go Young up to Sheezel. And I did say to myself in the preseason that I didn't want to be too reactive this preseason, like I am most preseasons. But Young was extremely defensive mid the other night, which really turned me off. He didn't get much of the ball despite a lot of mid minutes. And Sheezel, as you were saying, was so good with that half back line. Had, I think, 42 disposals or something ridiculous like that. And that was in the 35-degree plus heat. It was a hot day, really hard to use the ball well in the sweaty conditions, and he did it perfectly. I don't know how you can leave him out after a performance like that when he's not that much more than Young.
Yeah, I echo everything you've just said, mate. Verns, is the she's in your side at all, buddy?
Yeah, he definitely is. I mean, as you said, I don't think anyone could ignore that performance. Everyone after that game went and found that extra bit of money and moved around a premium and found a spot for him. So definitely sitting there for me now. And I think, as you mentioned, the biggest thing was he wasn't playing mid forward, which was sort of alluded to at the start of the preseason. We were scared of that. The second he got that quarterback role, it's a premium position at North. Doesn't matter that he's sharing with two others. Maybe we'll see a little bit more as the preseason goes on, but from that one game alone, it's impossible to look past him.
The way I see it is Zach Fisher has already had hammy issues already, so he's not even competition. Like, it's just a ticking time bomb before he goes down. And then, like, Colby McKercher, he was fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and he's going to get DPP as well. So that's just another string to his Supercoach bow. We're going to move on to some questions now. Jay has sent in, Macrae was the biggest disappointment tonight. Collingwood fans were talking him up as a Brownlow chance, and he couldn't get game time in a preseason game. Well, I mean, absolutely spot on. He scored 37 in 30% game time on ground. So, I don't think he's an option now. It seems as if Lipinski has really found some trust in his body. I know last year he was coming off a couple of shoulder issues, one being a shoulder reconstruction. But with the addition of Lipinski, I mean, Fine Wine Pendles wasn't even playing tonight, so it just makes it harder. And it seemed to be that Reef, Charlie Dean, Harvey Harrison, and Macrae were the four players that weren't being used in the initial 22. And it seemed as if they all came on with 10 minutes left in that third quarter. So it's just, I think you do have to take him out now unless something drastically changes and he's just picked, I guess, round zero, so to speak. Joshy, what's your thoughts on Macrae, mate?
Yeah, completely agree with everything you just said. After what he did against North when he had all the opportunities in the world with half of Collingwood's side out and he still wasn't that great, that sent alarm bells for me. I started to look at other options down there, but obviously still kept him in. But yeah, missing the whole first half tonight with just Pendles missing from the side, it's a bit of a concern. And yeah, I've taken him out now for a Laurie or a Cadman, whoever pops up.
Yep, I like that. Laurie is a sneaky chance as well. He played very, very well. Almost similar to Caleb Windsor, but off the top of my head, he's like 55k cheaper. So depending what you can do with that kind of cash, I'd definitely be an advocate for Laurie, or you just leave Windsor in there and then I guess move the pieces around when needed. Verns, what was your thoughts on Macrae tonight, mate?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very disappointing, the game time at the end of the day. Like, I think we were all really excited to hopefully get him in and have a good run, especially us being Collingwood supporters. We were really excited for it. So it's honestly just disappointing. I do like that you mentioned Pat Lip, obviously really having a good game. I thought he had a really good preseason game earlier as well. So that was really nice from him. And he's coming out of the forward. So I'm wondering if he's going to end up with a forward DPP. And I mean, that could make things a little bit more interesting down the line.
Lipinski.
Yeah. Was he coming off the half forward?
Yeah, well, he actually is a 380k forward in Supercoach. So
I thought he was mid only. Oh my.
No, he's a forward. So same price as Zach Fisher, basically. So I don't know if anyone's on Fisher at the moment, but I mean, when he inevitably does a hammy, you can always sideways there if you really wanted to.
Yeah,
We're gonna have another one.
I definitely think Pat is probably underpriced if that's the case. As a forward 350, he's underpriced. Not probably worth it in Classic, but it's a good note for a draft league I'm doing right now.
Yes. So as everybody knows, Joshy is the king of draft. He absolutely loves it. Verns loves his draft, and I couldn't think of anything more boring. This one's a stab at Verns because we always like to give him shit for being late. We were promised Verns. He has become Pleb 2.0. Now, I've received some insults in my time, but that one should definitely take the cake. So, Verns, have a good hard look at yourself, mate.
I think that one's unwarranted. I mean, I'm a slightly better Pleb. I show up, just not on time.
Yeah.
Is that not an improvement?
Maybe Pleb is a wish Verns. I mean, we can go that way if you want. Jay's sending in some very good questions. Scoobs, how many rounds did Fife last in 2023? I think he is a year older now. Well, your maths would add up, mate. So last year I had Fife and Flanders, and Stewie Dew absolutely cooked Flanders, and Fife was absolutely dog shit. But Joshy is very good at convincing me, but he hasn't convinced me off Fife yet. What I saw the other night was absolutely amazing. Like, it was contested bull type vintage Fife. Obviously a little bit older now. Josh, and as I keep on banging on about it, you are the number one hater of selecting Fife in Supercoach. Has your mind changed?
Yeah, well, as I was saying, like to you privately in DMs and on Twitter as well, to everyone that follows me, I think it's going to get to the point where that not owning him due to his ownership percentage is going to outweigh the injury risk and the sub risk and the management risk. So I have like looked at different ways that I could get him in, and whether that's a no premium forward line with all the mid price madness, or getting Harms up to him potentially. But the only thing I will say about what was a pretty good performance by him in just that first half on Saturday night was the 17 handballs and only 3 kicks.
Yep.
That's not a ratio that you want, obviously, but
No,
I mean,
no,
he's
it's
fighting
definitely
it
not.
20 times in a half. It's still very good. And yeah, just my mind is swayed by that 47% ownership now. It's probably going to get up to 55, 60. And yeah, the reason I was so against the pick was because of his injury and sub and all that risk. But I think it gets to a point where the ownership risk is a bit too much.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Mm.
sometimes you got to play the ownership play, don't you? Burns, what's your thoughts, mate? Is Fife in your team? Because if Joshy is the president of the anti-Fife club in Supercoach, you are the vice president, because you have been extremely lippy about it, mate.
Look, unlike Josh, I actually haven't put Fife in my team, hasn't touched it once yet, but you're definitely correct. The game that he did put out, it does waver you a little bit. You do sit there and you think, is he actually an option? Is it actually possible? I've decided the answer is still no. I'm not doing it. And I think I'm going to probably stay strong on it. I think somebody asked me a comment on my most recent YouTube video, and when I sort of thought about it before, obviously you reply, I think I just sort of solicited my thoughts that I really think best case scenario, maybe he ends up with an 85 average, which, look, that's good for his price. That's going to make him some money. But how much better is that than a guy who's 120K that gets a 60, 65 average? Is that really that much of a, is that really that much damage for the potential risk of injury, which I think is still extremely high? I think there's a good 70% chance he's going down before the first 6 rounds. So, it still hasn't touched my team. I don't think he will.
Interesting. Very nice, mate. Very nice. Jay says, so which one of you three have changed your team to fit Daicos in? Well, as everybody knows, I didn't need to. As soon as Blank went down, it was straight Sicily to Daicos. I haven't been as locked in on Dakes as I normally would have been, but from what I saw just before, the man scored 102 in 56 time on ground. Like, that's 56%. Yeah. That's literally a tick over half game time. 102. Now, I don't know. The first quarter, Joshy, I was talking to you, mate. I was not impressed by it. He had 10 posies, a free 4, and I wasn't buying it because it didn't look damaging. And then I got up the app, looked at the scores, and the man's on 34. Like, that, to me, that was not a 34-point quarter at all. But if they're going to give him points for breathing, then how silly do I have to be to not pick him? Joshy, you I'm fairly sure you've got Dakes, don't you?
Yeah, exact same situation as you. As soon as Blank went down, got him in, and I don't think he can start with 56% game time. 102 is absolutely ridiculous, and I really don't like the defender rookies this season compared to other lines. So I'm going a bit deeper down there at the moment with 4 primos.
So Verns, why haven't you moved, mate? Is it come back to, if he averages 120 and then a rookie gets 60, he only averages 108? Well, okay, give us some logic.
Yeah, honestly, I mean that's still a big reason at the end of the day. Look, they did verse Tigers, and the ball, and honestly, in that first half, it lived in the Tigers' forward line. Like as
Absolutely.
much
They played
as
well in that first quarter.
yeah, look,
Mm.
it lived down there. Dacos, as you mentioned, he had a lot of the ball, he had a lot of opportunity, and Tigers historically have always given up big points to the defenders as well. Sicily goes big on them, Stewart goes big on them. That they give up those sort of points because that's just the game style they play. They love to bomb the ball inside, have a real messy game, and try and lock it in. But look, this was a team that's always going to favor, I think, Dacos score wise. So yes, he had a
Yep.
pretty inflated score coming into this. And the other thing is because it ended up being a bit of a blowout at the end, the way scaling works is obviously sorry, was this 102 super coach just to make sure? I didn't actually
Yes.
look. Yeah. So
Yes.
scaling
Yep.
comes into effect there, pushes it up for the early game as well. So
Mhm.
the damage that he did was multiplied. So look, I'm not doubting that he's going to be D1. I definitely am not doubting that. I just think I can get him in later, probably for the same price, and get more points with a Stewart or something instead.
Yep, understood, mate. He also went at 100% centre bounce usage in the second quarter. So that just, there's a lot of things that are screaming to me. Just pick the man. But
Just
yeah,
one thing I'll add there.
yes, mate. Yes.
One of my biggest concerns, obviously the buy, but was also the McGuinness and Winhager tag. And Winhager's just injured himself, and McGuinness wasn't even in the Hawks' best 22 for the Pracky game last week. So that's two of my biggest worries completely gone at the moment. But
Yep.
Mitchell might bring in McGuinness just for that one game because it's worked before. But
I'll bring
all
him in the
signs looking
Breakers League again.
yeah, probably.
I think everyone's got this kind of set up at the moment. The Surf 420, good to see you, mate. Glad to have you here, buddy. I have Dacos, Stewart, Sheasel, and Young in my back line at the moment. Now, I have 3 of those 4. I'm not on Young. I currently have Houston. But I think a 4 primo defense is bare minimum at the moment. Is that fair to say? I mean, Gibcus looked all right tonight, but I mean, he got to 62 in the end, but jeez, it was rough at stages. All I will say is his job security is absolutely fantastic because he is set in stone back there. Joshy, I assume you're running a 4 primo defense.
Yeah, exact same as you. And Houston's the one that I have instead of Young, and he hasn't left my side for a long time. I'm really big on that pick.
Yep. Burns, how many primos down back you got? Here we go.
Yeah,
This would be
so
like none.
now we're
or
just
something.
flipping Dacos to Houston, that's all. And then that's my
perfect. Yep.
defense. So
Yep. I thought you'd go something rogue like a Yo or something.
but... I mean, I'm telling you not to pick 5, and you're like, nah, you definitely pick Yo, wouldn't you? No, not touching any of those guys.
Perfect, mate. We'll get to some questions later, but the next stage, we're going to be talking about the players that have left us wondering. Now, we've gone over the players that I guess have really surprised us, but the ones that have left us wondering, a bit more questions around their role. Now, my first up is a Freo premium who went at 116 after his bye, and that's Andy Brayshaw. So I watched this game fairly closely, and it seemed as if Brayshaw was rotating to the wing with Johnson at times. And they had a midfield, I guess. It was fairly fluid, and it seemed to be Sarong, Brayshaw, Johnson, Fife, and Young. And I am not liking that wing role for Brayshaw at all. So I need to see more from that. But initially, I thought he was a bit underpriced at a tick over 600k. But if he's going to be playing that wing role, I think I will happily wait and see. Joshy, who's a player that's left you wondering, mate?
Oh, it's the guy that's in 71% of teams, and it's Harley Reid. A lot of people saying it's a bit reactionary or going too early, saying he was poor and to get him out of your side. But it used to be foreign to pick one of those pick 1s or pick 2s in your Supercoach team until Rao and Walsh and even Ashcroft, who was a pick 2 granted, started to really have massive pre-seasons and force you to pick them. And 8 disposals against Freo in ample opportunities. It's just a massive caution, I think, especially with a lot of guys around that price that are playing really good footy in terms of Sanders, McKercher, Hustwaite, Lazaro. There's plenty that have popped up. But yeah, that was one that really left me wondering, and someone that I'm actually going to have to watch now in that second game to see if he can get any better.
Yeah, I mean, after that game, I sent you a message and just shared a few things that I probably can't say right now, but I was not impressed by him. He doesn't
No.
look like a running halfback flanker. He just looks like an inside ball. But very hard to judge after one practice game. Verns, who's your player that's left you wondering, mate?
Yeah, so we mentioned it before. Apparently, we're all picking WA boys because I'm going for Hayden Young.
Yeah, I like that.
I really want to see another game out of him. I wasn't happy with it, and I don't know if that's just the Fife effect coming in. Obviously, that's already affecting Brayshaw. The only other question is Fife's going to be gone in 3 rounds, so does that really matter? It's hard to tell, and I just want to see more of him to figure out if this is actually, a golden pick or someone that was going to be better off just flipping to a Sheasel or something.
As I said, I'm a huge advocate of finding, 30K and getting to Sheasel. I think Young had 12 possessions, and I hope he's in the chat tonight, but Johnny Smith, our good friend, actually had a good comment on Young. He seems to be playing a defensive midfield role.
Yeah, well, even when he does do that, he usually tackles a lot, and that usually bolsters his score. And that didn't happen either, and that's the other concerning thing. But it is against West Coast, where it is a preseason game where it's a bit less contested. So, against a team that's maybe a bit stronger and can get out the back of these stoppages, that maybe means that he can get more possessions, gets tackles, gets more involved. I'd love to see it against a different team.
Absolutely. I mean, I think West Coast aren't going to be, flag favourites this year again. I think they'll be a team that, you can increase your score on. But yeah, I just wasn't impressed at all. So I completely understand you wondering about that, mate. And we're going to get to some questions again. And this beautiful human who's joined us just again, before we release the name, I want you two boys, off the top of your heads, I'm going to give you 2 players. I'm going to tell you who averages more, because I've taken a little side bet with my best mate, Johnny Smith here. Who averages more, Jason Horne-Francis or Nick Martin? Go.
Nick Martin.
I'll go Nick Martin. Yeah.
Thank you, because I'm on the Martin train, and my boy Johnny, he's on the Horny-Francis train. So I think I've got him covered there, but we will see. I
do like Horne-Francis as a smoky pick, to be honest. I have considered it, but I mean, I think Martin's honestly he's going to be going over 100, and I feel very confident in him.
If you're going to rock up late and contribute bullshit like that, mate, you are on thin ice. If you lads are picking Ruck 3, Nice Smith, are you still picking a VC loop, non-playing rookie, or expecting a playing rookie to get dropped? Nice Smith looked good tonight. Yeah. Like, to be fair, he wasn't up against, a very good ruckman in Cox and Cameron. They're, mediocre. They do well. They don't do amazingly. But Nice Smith looked very, very good. I would assume so. But then again, a rookie always gets dropped. So I'm not too sure on that. I guess I would probably maybe go a forward just to loop. Because the defensive rookies are disgusting at this stage. Joshy, what's your thoughts on that, mate?
I wouldn't be picking a loop if you got Naismith at R3, especially because Nank was pretty optimistic that he could get up for opening round or in an early round game. And yeah, it's when you've got someone like Naismith, I think he is going to be that guy that you pick and just pay up an extra 20K to get a potential R3 loop or someone who makes you coin. And the risk of not having a starting loop is significantly decreased this year with 4 out of the 6 games starting the year with teams on the bye. So you're going to have a loophole option in pretty much most of those games. And yeah, I'd be picking Naismith if he is named, and I wouldn't be picking a loophole anywhere else.
He did all right tonight, scored 87. That'd be very handy for some cash generation. Verns, what's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, no, I was impressed with him too. Definitely someone to ponder there. I'm not really for picking a loophole unless we're forced into it because there's just no good R3s, full stop. If we can
Yep.
get someone playing, get someone playing. As Joshy said, let's make cash. Cash is king. That's how Supercoach works. And it'll be very nice later on in the season after the buys finish, round 7 rocks around to downgrade someone to a loophole rookie to be able to just like bank in as much cash as you can to potentially do an upgrade there if necessary.
Completely concur, mate. Completely concur. Michael Higginson, how are you tonight, mate? It's good to see you here. Richmond regulars back tonight, and Dow's role looks real. 95 tonight. Can see 25-point upside. Can you pick him until his early buy and with cash gen starting a week early? I think you can pick him, but I'm not going to. When you've got like McKercher, Sanders, Hustwaite, I know some are even big on Roberts in there. It's a lot more than what we'd ideally like to pay for. So I can see the merit in it. But for myself personally, that's a no. He did look good tonight. He looked very good and very clean in traffic as well. Joshy, what's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, same here. He did look really good and looked good last week as well against the D's. But just the way that I'm running my side at the moment with 5 premium mids and then McKercher Sanders are locks and Hustwaite's got that M8 spot at the moment. I just can't fit him in, especially with a guy like Roberts currently at MR9. And yeah, but if Jordan or like Harms or Fife or one of those 3 to 4 mid prices I got forward sunk it up and Dow looked really good in opening round, then maybe, but not at the moment with my current structure.
Yep, wonderful, mate. Verns, what's your thoughts on Dow, mate?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we get that opening round, so we'll get to at least see that. I mean, if he stinks that up with a 50, I don't think anyone's going to pick him, but comes out with maybe a 90, 100, then it does beg the question, do you? I do think it's very hard, though, structure-wise. As Josh said, we've got McKercher, we got Sanders probably sitting in your at least M7, M8, and then there's a bunch of really good sort of premium price, sort of fallen premium price. We've got Steele there, Martin, Crouch, Amon, well, Guthrie's gone now, but Horn Francis, if you really want. But there's a lot of players there that I think, you can choose that, that fallen premium price that you want to fit those guys in. You want to fit premiums in. You want McKercher, you want Sanders on field. It's very awkward to try and find an M6 spot for him, in my opinion.
Concur, mate. Concur. Jay sent this one in. What are your thoughts on Jaden Short? His role seems to be Supercoach friendly in 2024. Well, Short did score on 121, and he is notorious for going absolutely bonkers in the preseason games. I thought he looked good tonight, and I know Collingwood leak points down back, but if he's got that role, I'd be happy to pay an extra 30K and know that it's 100% legit and pick him up later than jump on now. I know that's very conservative, but I'm very happy. As I said, Dacos, Stewart, Houston, and Sheasel, I'm not going 5 deep in defence. Well, yet anyway. So, I wouldn't be against it. And I know our wonderful Port Adelaide correspondent, Grant Martin, shout out to you, mate. You absolute superstar. Probably slurping on a prawn tonight, as usual. And don't take that the wrong way. This man is a seafood monster. He eats them by the kilos. I know he's very big on Jaden Short, actually. Joshy, what's your thoughts on Short, mate?
Yeah, well, it's the 4 that you mentioned. I'm absolutely locked into them at the moment. And why would you pay the same amount for Short that you can get for Sheasel? That's something that I can't get my head around, especially when Short has that buy early. But the role did look really good tonight. There's no denying that. And you're right, he does usually do this in the preseason. I think he had a 150 a few years ago, even a score possibly even higher off the top of my head. But I'm the same as you. I would rather watch him in the early stages of the season and get him in as an upgrade target after more evidence. I don't think he's going to go up that much in price to hurt you.
Yeah, Perfectly sensible response, mate. Now maybe for something that's not so perfectly sensible. Verns, what's your thoughts?
Look, I do think it is really a short verse Sheasel at the end of the day when you're making this pick, and it's hard to look past Sheasel. I think a lot of people are either looking at Nick Martin, Amon, they want to be flipping them into their defense line. It's hard to look past Stewart, Sicily. We want Dacos later in the season. I mean, you've got to pick only 6 defenders. I just don't know if Short fits into that structure. Even if he's falling to like a D9 or something, that's still really good and all, but we really want them to be D6 plus potentially, on your starting picks. If we have 4 defenders, you want them to really be D4 plus, honestly. And if they are a bit cheaper, you want them a little bit cheaper as well. Like if Short had 50K off his price, he would be a great target. But he is sort of at that awkward price point where he's not going to be the top tier of his line, and he's also not going to quite make you like 100K. So he just ends up a bit awkward. I think, the only way you'd consider him is if you're considering not getting Sheasel, and that's not a bet I'd be willing to take.
Yep, understood. Jono's just dropped in. G'day, legends. How are you? I'm good, mate. I'm good. It was nice to see the Messiah run around tonight in 17th gear and just cruise around and relax. Joshy, how are you tonight? Let Jono know how you are, mate.
I'm not bad at all. Thanks for asking, Joe.
Verns?
Yeah, doing well. I mean, it was nice to sit down and watch a game that was taken a lot more seriously tonight.
It was, and I don't know about you two, but the camera angles tonight weren't fantastic, but Jesus Christ, they were 1,000 times better than what we've been seeing. No random trees in the middle. So, yeah. Jay sent in, if Brayshaw is playing wing at 608K, Parish at 604K might be a better option. No, we don't entertain Parish on this channel until obviously he warrants it. Jono said, could you pick Dow M6 with McKercher and Sanders M7 and 8 with Huswaite M9? Leave me with 456K if I did choose to do this. I wouldn't, mate. I think you can overdo the fact of trying to stock up on a little bit of everything from a little bit of everywhere. That's not viable for me. Joshy, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think you could start a Huswaite at M9. It's 180K is a bit too much to spend at M9, which is my thoughts personally. I'm even a bit tentative to start Roberts at M9 at 150K, so definitely against Huswaite there.
He's just sent in as well. It's 450K on a defender. So that's what he'd have left over.
You wouldn't have much options there, except for like a Yo or a Coleman.
On a Himmelberg or something. Yeah, I'd say Himmelberg, Yo, Coleman would be the best bets there. Ferns, what's your thoughts on this, mate?
I'm also a fan of Buderek, so I'd like to add him to the mix there. But I mean, that also just ends up a little bit awkward because then you're sitting on 150K, and unless you're really using that to bolster the rest of your team, maybe you have a few rookies you're a bit iffy with and you'd like to upgrade on the rest of your team. But I don't know, midfield just seems so good, and it just seems so hard to warrant Dow.
Yep, absolutely. Corey, good to see you again, mate. You're always here. Absolute MVP. Crazy Dacos got scaled to 101 when sitting on the bench as he was at 90 when he went off for McRae. I saw him on 89 when he came off, so clearly the scaling has impacted that. And I guess it's what he did earlier in the game. I know we can all, converse about how scaling is rigged, and I mean, at some points it does really seem like it, but we don't have anything concrete to actually work out the scaling. So until that happens, you just got to take it on the chin, mate. But I guess that's another reason why you do pick him. Corey sent in, Charlie Dean played well in the third quarter, 12 disposals, 8 marks, 48 Supercoach. Now, if Nathan Murphy isn't right for the start of the year and Howe doesn't get up either, I could easily see Dean playing. Maybe not continuous games, but if he needed a warm body for maybe like 3 out of 5 games at the start of the year, I would not be against it, but I'm not 100% on board with it. Joshy, what do you think about Charlie Dean tonight, mate?
Well, he was good when he played, but I don't think I could possibly pick someone that only played the second half. Same goes for McRae with Pendles coming in, and as you mentioned, same goes for Dean with Howe coming in. He might not get up opening round or round one, but he'll be coming in pretty early, I think. And yeah, I just can't pick someone that's got that job security risk.
Yep, understood. Verns, thoughts on Dean, mate?
Yeah, all about that job security. I mean, if you're not getting a full game when we're missing one of our best 22, the second they come in, you fall further down the list. So, I mean, it's just not happening.
Absolutely, mate. Jono's also sent in, I'm keen to hear your thoughts on a mid-rookie for my M9. I have basically 186k on this position. My current mids is Bont, Track, Butters, Green, Steele, McKercher, Sanders, and Huswaite. Off the top of my head, mate, I just put Roberts in there as a placeholder, and he's at 150k, so there should be no issue going down to literally anyone or working some DPP out and just keep the 30k in the bank. I think it's almost like a psychological thing. When you see cash in the bank, you almost want to spend it instantly. Sometimes you don't have to. It's okay to go into a season with cash. It makes future upgrades or future trades, or you might have missed a rookie that you need. Having cash in the bank is a good thing. You do not need to spend it all in one go. Some teams have, 100 in the bank. That's it. Just literally $100, and that's fine. Some teams have 50k in the bank. That's fine as well. If you're happy with it, stick to it. But my suggestion would be Roberts, mate. Joshy, do you have anyone else to suggest for Jono?
Yeah, it's going to be Roberts, or if you don't have Clark and Ware, maybe look at Ware, and also Sharp. I know he missed the game with illness, but I think he's still definitely in that best 22 for Freo.
Absolutely. Verns, anyone different at all? Someone that's caught your eye, maybe? I'm not too sure.
No, you covered I think the four main ones there you usually go down to. And as you mentioned, that cash, it's going to be very nice. You get to round 3. After round 2, and you make some correction trades, it's very nice having 60k sitting there to just be able to flip players around. And as you mentioned, worst case scenario, you just have 60k or 30k extra for your first upgrade. So no negatives.
Absolutely. Johnny, good to see you here, mate. Jason Horne-Francis without Smoke, Nick Martin. There are so many players to feed in the Bombers backline. Heppel, McGrath, who's going to drop out for him? Well, he had 29 posies the other day, and I know a certain Bombers fan that was actually there that can probably give us a better insight than me. But personally, Heppel's ancient. I don't think I've seen him kick the ball longer than maybe, 35 meters in 6 or 7 years. I don't think McGrath has hit a target since he came into the AFL. So there you go. The only elite kick that they have down there is Ridley. Redmond just launches long bombs. And don't get me wrong, sometimes that's fantastic because he can hit the scoreboard. But for that finesse around the corner, setting things up, in my mind, they only have Ridley and now Martin. So I think he's pretty much locked back there. Joshy, you know more than I. You were down there. You saw this practice game. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, he found the ball with ease, and you're exactly right. I don't think there's anyone that when John says that we've got too many guys down there to feed in the back line, I don't think that's true at all. We put Nick Martin down there to be that distributor. He was a good wingman last year, nearly all Australian at the halfway point of the season. You're not going to move someone that caliber in his position to half back just because you feel like it. You're doing it for a reason. He's our distributor now. And that's what it looked like when I was at the game. I was saying to you, though, his ball use looked a bit bad. 29 possessions. I think he ended up 20 effective. And I think those 9 that weren't effective were bad turnovers. But it was blowing, the wind was blowing. It was so windy down there. I don't think any Essendon players were hitting targets, and some Saints weren't either. But yeah, he's the main distributor, and there's nothing to worry about in terms of getting the ball, I don't think.
Yep, wonderful, mate. Verns, what's your thoughts? Are there too many mouths down there for, I guess, a Martin to feast?
Look, it's definitely something to consider because I think that's always been a Bombers issue even the last few seasons when they had like Nick Hind coming in and stuff like that. There was always a lot of people who felt like distributing the ball, but I think Josh probably has the best take on this out of everyone. And I think he's right on the money with everything he said. So I would definitely go with that.
Wonderful. Corey Sinning, I'm looking to do Hustweight M9 as having Martin M6. 180k for an M9. I can see the merit of it. It's just a lot of money to have as your M9. Joshy, what's your thoughts? 180k for M9. Are you happy with that, or?
No. As I said before,
No.
a bit tentative even with Roberts on 156, but yeah, don't do Hustweight at M9.
Just get him on field, you reckon?
Absolutely. If you're going to get him, put him on field.
He looked
reckon.
very good. Very
Yeah, he
good.
did.
Verns, what's your thought, mate? Hustweight M9? Is that like, are we trying to just put too much into one thing?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going a bit more of an elevated premium for better job security, things like that. We've definitely seen that in the past, but that's usually in situations where we have speculative rookies. Like, I feel like we have a good crop of these 123k players, all the ones you mentioned before, even Roberts. There's enough players there that you don't need to be spending up on the bench.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Wonderful. We're going to ditch the questions for a moment and get back to regular proceedings. We're moving on to players we had interest in but have now lost interest in. And mine's fairly straightforward. It's any premium that's not called Sam Flanders. Simple as that. No premium has, I guess, made me think, oh, God, I need to get them in so far. Like, looking at tonight's scores, Bolton scored an 89 and Dusty scored a 62. No, thank you. I'm not having a bar of that. No way. So, literally, I have no interest in any premium forward besides Sammy Flanders, who I thought was very good. Very, very good. Joshy, what's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I got a few, but two of them are really quick ones. Cam Guthrie, for obvious reasons, didn't quite in the first 10 seconds, and that really annoyed me. And then another one that we just touched on before, Hayden Young, looked a bit too defensive, didn't get much of the ball. Obviously still watching the second game, but lost interest a little bit there. And then the third one is Parrish. I was really optimistic. Had David Rath come down to Essendon as a kicking coach, as I was saying in a couple of the previous podcasts, and I really thought he did actually work on his kicking. As I said, though, no one could hit a target from Essendon on the weekend in Moorabbin, but yeah, I lost interest there because he was still just hacking the ball into the wind and it was just floating in the air at a lot of stages.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've got two comments to that. I know, excuse me, we knew Parrish can't kick. Like, that's just a given. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many times I told you that, and I hate to always say I told you, mate, but I told you. And obviously, Guthrie only lasted 15 seconds. That's still 5 times longer than what Pleb lasts. So, he did well. But, yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that he went down because I was huge on him. Verns, who's a player that you've had interest in, but you've now lost interest in?
This might sound strange to people, but it was actually Lazaro. I've heard a lot of people say that they were really excited with his game and whatnot. And personally, when I was watching it, I just didn't feel like I noticed him as much as I thought I would have. And also, he's parked a lot forward when we saw that practice game. I think the intra-club, he played a lot on the ball is what I heard, and he was really good in there. And then when they played us last week, he was parked forward, and he did all right stuff down forward, but I don't really want to be paying 180k for a guy that's parked forward in a bottom 4 side. So I don't know. I wasn't really happy with what I saw from him in that game, but obviously a lot of people had different opinions there, and maybe I just wasn't looking for Lazaro enough, but yeah, I wasn't really happy with it. Maybe too focused on the Pies players.
No, it's valid, but see, I'm the exact opposite, mate, because from what I saw, he had 22 posies going at 86%. Now that just screams, super coach gold for that kind of rookie. So
yeah, I mean, look, that's what was surprising to me is obviously you watch these games and then you look at the stats afterwards and I'm like, well, we got 22 disposals. Like, honestly, I was surprised how little I saw of him. but ended up with 22 somehow. So, I mean, it would be great to see him again. He's definitely one that is on my list to see again as well. Just, I think, especially when you take away from this game something very different to what the majority of the community took away from the game, it's definitely something I want to see again and be like, is that a misinterpretation from my side of things? Which look probably most likely is. But yeah, he actually left my team, and then I keep hearing all this news that everyone was so impressed with him, and I was like, damn, did I miss something?
Well, I think you did, mate,
Yeah.
because I was impressed with Lazaro, especially at 180k. If you're getting 22 posies at 86, that price is going to go up. But I guess each to their own. Each to their own. Yeah. We'll move into some more questions. Once again, thank you so much to everyone that joins into the stream, that obviously listens after we've concluded. Thank you so much for joining in, because some of these comments and questions are absolutely fantastic, like this one. Johnny Smith, this is so much better than your Horn Francis pump up before, mate. With Parker going down, who do we think is going to get more minutes now? I hope it's James Jordan. I honestly do. As soon as the news came out that Parker had, I guess, broken his arm and the news was broken to the public, I ran some numbers. So in 2021, the games where James Jordan had 40% CBAs, he had an average of 85 Supercoach points. That's 2021. In 2023, when he had more than 40% CBAs, he actually went at 74. That's 40%. 40%. Now, if he can get anything like that, I would be absolutely all aboard the James Jordan train. Absolutely. I was completely against it. Absolutely against it. And Joshy, you know better than anyone, but I would not have a bar of that. But as soon as Parker's been injured, like, Taylor Adams doesn't have the body to literally just go in there and absorb and soak in every single CBA and minute in that midfield that Luke Parker once had. So I hope it's James Jordan, but I think they'll just rotate the pieces a little bit more. Joshy, what's your thoughts on that, mate? Who's going to get the mid-minutes now that Luke Parker's obviously got that broken up?
Yeah, well, I think you're right in terms of hopefully it is Jordan. He's someone else that I got in. But looking at their CBAs in that game, Parker only had the 46, and that was also with Adams out, and Goulden only had the 20, playing only that one half, and Sheldrick another 6.7%. So maybe it's a mix. Maybe it's Adams comes in and he just takes the whole of 46% of Parker's CBAs and then some. Or maybe it's Goulden, gets more playing a full game of footy rather than just a half. But Jordan himself had 26.7%. And I think that if he can have 30 to 40% CBAs whilst playing wing as well, I think that's still a good enough role at his price. But yeah, I think it's going to be a mix. And yeah, one to watch definitely next week or this weekend, sorry.
Yep. Completely concur. Verns, what's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you. I don't think it's just going to be a straight like for like. They're just Parker's gone down. Sheldrick, you're getting all these CBAs. Good luck.
Yep.
Nah, it's probably, even if it is just an 8-10% bump to everybody getting a little bit more CBAs, I think that's more realistic, and that's still going to be really good. That's going to be really good for nearly every other Sydney midfielder. So definitely want to keep an eye on for this opening round. See where those are going and see who piques our interest.
Wonderful, mate. Wonderful. The Surf 420 said, where can we send our resumes to replace Pleb on this wonderful pod? All these absences should surely be a fireable offence. Mate, trust me. We are trying to get him out. No, I joke. Every time I go into the group chat, all he does is abuse me. So that's all I've ever known. So as far as I can say, fuck him, because he doesn't rock up. Jono, wonderful, mate. Going Rowan Marshall is my R1. Thoughts, lads? So that would be Marshall R1, Grundy R2. I just, not against. I just can't go past Gawn. I literally can't. Yeah, that's my thoughts, mate. I just can't go past set and forget. Like, bring it back. Simple as that. Joshy, your thoughts, mate?
Well, someone that attended the Saints Essendon game, Marshall looked really good, like really impressive. But you know, you've got Grundy. I'm hoping he's still got Grundy at R2. But you know, Gorn is 56k cheaper than Marshall, and I think given his scoring history as the number one ruck, no Jackson now, no Grundy, I think he's going to go back to those premium numbers. Maybe not as high given his age, but 56k cheaper. I think you've just got to take that risk and start going over Marshall. But it's not the worst pod move in the world.
Yep, absolutely. Burns, any merit to it, mate? Are you on board? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I honestly don't mind that point of difference. Now, in my head, 100% of teams have Grundy, so clearly he must be R2. But I mean, as Joshy said, it's 56k. What's the real difference there in total points? Is it going to be significant? I think Marshall's probably got more upside as the younger player, potentially to come through, saying that obviously Gorn returning to a single ruck role. It could be much of a muchness at the end of the day, but I don't mind the idea, honestly. I don't mind if you're going to take a punt, that's a pod to go for.
Wonderful. Wonderful, mate. Corey sent in, Lazaro's been switching with power for the centre bounce roles. Well, that's exactly what I saw. But obviously, Verns, you saw that differently. Is that...
As I said, maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention to the, specifically him. There's obviously LDU in there to pay attention to. Wardlord was to pay attention to. I was paying attention to McRae, the Pies boys naturally. So clearly Lazaro just averted my eyes for some reason. But as I said, I'll get another look at him before the season starts and I'll try to pay more attention to Lazaro.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Sir 420 said, with Parker and Mills missing, does that open the door for Jordan not to go missing like pleb? Very good. Very good comment. I would assume so. I don't think, as we just spoke about, I don't think it's just because Parker and Mills is missing, Jordan's just going to go straight in there and bang, 80% CBAs. I highly doubt that's going to happen. But I do think he's going to have to shoulder some of the load. Like, it's as simple as that. And I think his career, like they wanted to get him up there. He wanted to move. He's got to show them why he's there now. And it's a perfect opportunity for it. Joshy, what's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, we touched on it before pretty much. I think, as we said, it's going to be a bit of a mix. But as I was saying, I think I'll be happy with just 30-40% from Jordan. I think that's more than enough as a wingman. And just going back to also Corey mentioning Lazaro's CBAs, he had 47.2% against Collingwood, and that's what I saw when I was mentioning earlier. I was surprised by how good he's been. But yeah, 47.2% and rotating high half forward. I think it's a pretty good role. But yeah, in the case of Jordan, I think I'm hoping it's him that gets that mid minutes.
Yep, absolutely. So am I. Tune has completely changed on Jordan if obviously he gets that role, and there's more chance of him getting it now. Unfortunately, the Parker's obviously got a bung arm, which is unfortunate for him, but might be Supercoach gold for us. Verns, what's your thoughts, mate?
Don't overthink it. We get the open round. We'll
Have a
find
look.
out.
True. That's true.
Yep, wonderful. Getting to the end of the questions. Scobes, I dropped my Supercoach team in the toilet, and now Nat Fife is in it. What do I do? Well, firstly, two things. Verns agrees that is at, I think that's a fair summary. But I do think this is a lie, because if you did drop your Supercoach team in the toilet, it'd probably come out with the entire Carlton team on it, would it not? That's my thoughts.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That would make more sense, I reckon.
Yeah. Johnny Smith, we love you around here, mate. Is it worth fading Harley Reid? There is complete merit to it. Absolutely. Currently, he's not in my team. Like those 8 possessions that I saw the other night, let's be honest, Verns and his big pipes could get more than 8 out there. So, yeah, I'm going to have to see a lot more from him, I think. Joshy, what's your thoughts, mate? Warranted?
Yeah, it's definitely warranted. Like 8 disposals in the amount of game time he had, it's not what you want to see for a 207k rookie, especially because the forward line actually does have some pretty good options down there, both mid-price and rookie price. It's definitely an option. But as always, you still got to watch that second game because if he comes out and has 20 and kicks 2, then we're going to be going, how can you not start Harley Reid? So don't get too reactive yet, but it's definitely a caution.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Verns, what's your thoughts, mate?
Look, I think it's fine at the end of the day if you do fade him. We have, as Josh mentioned, plenty of options down there in my team right now. I could easily move him to a Jordan, a Billings, to a Lazaro. There's so many options down there that, maybe are better options. At worst case, maybe they're just as good. We have an extra game to look at him, consider it, and we'll figure it out.
Wonderful. Wonderful, mate. I completely agree. Now we're going to go through a little bit of advertising here because all those smart people that may have seen the thumbnail that we've posted on X, I know I've retweeted it. Joshy's retweeted it. Verns, I don't know, mate, it takes you like 7 days for your computer to turn on, and that's okay. That's okay. But the Supercoach Hub AFL podcast has actually partnered with Honeyball. Now, if you play any kind of fantasy sport, you would have seen Honeyball around the traps, either for injury, suspension, team sheets, news, big in BBL, obviously big in the AFL. So we've actually partnered with them, and we're going to be getting some codes sent to us that we're going to be dropping live on the podcast, live on stream. Now, this is a promo, obviously, for Honeyball, and it's a great value for money access. It's a one-off payment, which will obviously be discounted through the codes that we have, and it runs until the end of round 1. So this is the preseason one, but it obviously lasts the entire season. So you get complete access to all the content. It's literally news, insights, opinions from super coaches that are so much better than me, so much better than Verns. Probably not as good as Joshy, but around the mark. Top 100, top 50, and there's some top 25 coaches in there. You get access to the exclusive preseason injury list, club by club cheat sheets, and you get added into chat groups with literally 24/7 soundboards for people that need advice on literally any position. Draft as well, not just classic. So please stay tuned for next week's podcast. We'll be dropping some codes for an easy 50% off on that, which is wonderful. So thank you very much for Honeyball. Check them out. Go to the website. Literally go to the Twitter. Check it out. Have a look. Wonderful people, wonderful to work with, and very insightful as well. Very insightful. Now we're going to cut the advertising now, and we're going to move on to something that was absolutely wonderful to see tonight, and that was the Pies boys running around. So we're going to get to our first recap of the preseason for the official matches. First off, what's your thoughts, Joshy? Finn Macrae, yay or nay?
Absolutely not. Only playing a half, and the second half at that with no Pendles, and after his performance last week, it's a big no for me, unless he can somehow get into that opening round side.
Yeah, I agree, mate. But 30 in 30% time on ground, like that sounds amazing. If we could times that by 3, that would be even better, but obviously we can't. What's your thoughts, Verns? Finn Macrae right now, still in your side or not?
No, I'm going to be moving him on. I haven't touched my team since the game, but as you mentioned, job security, that's just not what we want.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anybody impressed by Gibcus?
I thought he was decent.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting huge things from Gibcus at the end of the day, but I thought he was, passable for what we're going to pay for him as a rookie, and with absolutely stellar job security, it's got no problem with it.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I like to think of Gibcus, that 30 extra K that you're spending on him is purely for job security. That's just my opinion, because he's absolutely locked in there, locked into that side. I think there are other key defender, Young. He was disgusting, to say it lightly. He didn't look good at all. Joshy, what's your thoughts on Gibcus, mate?
Yeah, well, you take a 62 any day of the week for a rookie defender. Only the 8 posies, but I think I did see him at one stage take a kick out, which is not going to be a regular thing in the season, but it's always nice to see. But yeah, it's reminiscent of his first season. He's around this price in his first season as a high-end draft pick, and it's just going to be a slow burn. If you can get him on the bench, but I would really try avoid getting him on the field. Best 18 does change that a little bit in the bye rounds early in the game, early in the season, but try keep him on the bench if you're going to pick him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I tweeted like you need to get him off field immediately, and somehow he got to he got to 62, which you'd probably take. I mean, I wouldn't.
Definitely.
Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable just straight playing him. So maybe, as Johnny Smith said before, maybe if you're taking Naismith and he's playing at R3, maybe your loop is actually down back. That would be handy. That would be very handy. Were any of the premiums, did they cement any thoughts or make you think any differently about anyone? I mean, tonight really just cemented that Dakes literally is a champion data love child. Because as I said, that first quarter, I didn't think he did that well. And then I looked at the scores and I was looking for his name around the middle of the page and he was like top 3, which I was fairly shocked at. So I guess that just reinforces my thoughts there and kind of convinces me a little bit more on him. Dustin Martin, I mean,
yeah,
I just no. Like, I don't think you can go there at all. At all. Neither Bolton. The way they kick the ball, like, it just makes me think, like, have they been instructed to literally just hold the ball sideways and kick the belly of it? Because very rarely do you actually see them kick it the traditional way. I think it's just get ball, boot it forward. So their forwards, I'm completely off. Joshy, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, you mentioned Dusty. He was the one that I was watching at F1 besides Flanders if I do go a primo forward down there, but started forward, and Jono in chat has perfect data here. He only had the 3 CBAs for the whole game, scored 60 Supercoach points, big crossed off the list now. And yeah, Dacos just reinforced that he's a good pick to me. And as you were saying with Bolton, I think again, Jono's put in here 7 CBAs out of the 18. It's not enough for me to pick at that 540k. Save the money and go Flanders if you're going to go with a forward premium in my eyes, I think. And then other than that, Taranto at 115, you could look at it, but there's so many mid options that you wouldn't consider it, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Verns, any thoughts from tonight, mate? Anything change your mind, cement any previous thoughts, or anyone pop up?
Look, a little unfortunate that Dusty and Bolton had down games. Honestly, not people I was interested in, but I think it's going to scare the rest of the community that was looking at them off them. So a little unfortunate that people didn't, weren't already on that. Yeah, I think, as you said, it just means that they're not picks. People really were I think people are just really trying to grasp at straws in that forward line. And unfortunately, they're not going to go for them now. Pie side, look, we're not really the most Supercoach relevant team outside of Dacos. No. So who else were we really looking at? We were hoping for McQuarrie, didn't quite play out. I was happy to see Schultz running around, but doesn't look like he's going to be relevant for Supercoach at all.
No.
So yeah, I mean, not really too much to take in the side of premiums, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, top scorer, you got Lipinski at 126, Short 121, Taranto 112, DeGoey 111, which I absolutely loved his game, but I could never pick him in Classic. Dakes, as we said, 102 from 56 time on ground. Dow with a 95 at that elevated price. Bolton 89. Naismith 87. I think a lot of people have him as R3 right now. Dusty 62 and Gibka 62. Sorry, not the top 10 scores, but the most relevant ones. And McRae 30 from 37% time on ground. It's just, I think it wasn't a really good game of football, honestly. It really wasn't. And I think Reef McInnes at 123k is a no-go if he wasn't already. Nathan Kruger, as the inevitable injury, he's been sent for scans on his hammy in the VFL game today, which was always going to happen. Do we have anything else to add, Joshy, Verns?
Go, Verns.
No, I was going to
perfect.
say I was
Oh.
honestly interested in McGuinness, and then this was very disappointing, honestly. Obviously, apparently he was good in the Interclub. He was good in the last game they played against North, and I was like, yeah, this guy looks like he's going to be a forward rookie for us. And then where was he?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, something drastic's going to have to change for him to, I guess, come into consideration again, which is annoying, but I mean, that's just the way it goes. And it's kind of handy that he is at that, I guess, a little elevated price, because if you go down to a 123K, you're almost banking literally another 30K to do whatever you want with it. That could be literally the difference between a Sarong and a Laird, or a Brayshaw and a Sarong. So, yeah. We've got one last question here. Sir 420, Billings, Jordan, or Harms? I've got all three, so I'm sorry, mate. Joshy?
I got all three, but if I was to choose, Billings is the one that I've been hot on all pre-season, so him.
Has been banging on about Billings like there's no tomorrow. Verns, Mr. Pipe Man, who are you picking?
Oh, right now I've got none of them, unfortunately, but it could very much change.
Wow.
I'm honestly interested in all of them, but just the way my structure worked out, I just didn't have any of them sitting there. I'd say Billings is my
Right.
number one. I definitely want to see Jordan in this open round game, and I am
Yep.
honestly interested in Harms, but I mean, there's not really anything to take from these dog games because honestly, those dog games were
Oh, that was
irrelevant.
bullshit. Why would you split the team into two, honestly?
Oh,
That's a joke.
I have no doubt Bevo was behind that.
Absolutely.
Peanut. Literally is like Supercoach kryptonite, that man. Yeah. Ferns, out of curiosity, if you've got none of these three, what's your forward line currently?
Oh, look, as I said, I haven't changed it. I'll probably be moving players around, but right now it's Flanders, Reed, Windsor, McRae, Sexton, Wilson, and then I've got Manor and K Brown on the bench. Honestly, he was super impressive when they played the Tigers last week. Obviously, I don't know if
tomorrow too.
So that's going to be great. I'd love to see him get up for open round. And if he does, I'm pretty keen to keep him. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Joshy and Verns. I hope you've had a good time. Everyone in the chat, some of the comments that obviously, as we say every single week, the ones that we couldn't read out, the ones that give us a little chuckle here and there. So if you see us laughing, Joshy's pretty prone to it. He gets a lot of abuse on the side here. Thank you so much for everybody dropping by. Thank you so much for everyone that views it and absolutely loves coming in here to hang out, talk a little bit of Supercoach. But like, subscribe, follow, you know what to do. You can find me at X on at Scobie Bryant 36. Joshy, where can everybody find you at?
At XJG2325.
And Verns, where can we all find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on X, Verns_SC, or YouTube, just Verns Supercoach.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Perfect. So as you know, everybody, join the Supercoach Hub on Discord for just literal continual Supercoach discussions, rate my team, everything like that. You'll also be the first to see any kind of preseason rundown stats that Joshy and myself do. If you buy into that kind of stuff, then wonderful. If you don't care about preseason kind of stats, then wonderful as well. Linktree's in the bio. Thank you so much to everybody that joined by. Don't forget to check out the Supercoach Hub on Twitter, Discord, Linktree. Don't forget to check us out on X as well, and also Honeyball as well as our number one sponsor. So thank you very much. We'll be dropping Honeyball codes next week for that 50% off preseason discount. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful night. Thank you. Good night.